putting it in my business name, but I think it is an awesome idea. Uh, Thanks for joining me today, Michelle.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. So, Michelle, I met through a group coaching program with Manny, I'm still working with today. And she was in that program. And then when I told Manny I really needed some help with my business, he recommended Michelle, who wasn't attending anymore because she was too busy with her business. She has virtual assistants, so a VA agency, and she provides this help from people from the Philippines only, right?
Yeah, that's where we hire from.
Okay. Yeah, so I have a VA through Michelle's agency, and it has been an absolute lifesaver for me. But in addition to that, I absolutely love Michelle's backstory and how she got to even having a business. So to kind of kick this off, could you share your story with us, Michelle?
Yeah. So Awesome Outsourcing was born completely on accident. And it's what I like to call the silver lining on the cloud, right? So um, I used to work as a project control engineer for a large construction company. And I was at work one day, and all of a sudden, half the computer screen went blank. Like it was just black. And I thought, what in the world? I need a new computer screen. And so I turned, and the black followed me. And I went, oh, that's not good.
Oh,
And so I got a hold of my coworker who was working in the cubicle next to me, and I was like, hey, I can't see. And she's like, haha, very funny, because we used to have a blast at work. And so I'm like, no, I'm dead serious. So she's like, okay. So they called 911, and next thing I know, I was in the ER having all kinds of tests done. And um, long story short, found out that I had a stroke. And the best guess is that I had a blood clot go into my brainstem for about 2 or 3 minutes, and
wow.
it cut off enough oxygen that I lost a good part of some of my brain capacity. So I no longer remember how to do math. I'm at about a second grade math level, and that's what my MBA was in. So that was kind of a bummer.
Oh my gosh.
Um, yeah.
That part I
And
didn't know.
yeah, so I'm still at a second grade level today. Luckily, a lot of my vocabulary came back. I was at about a first grade vocabulary level, and that's probably back up to a college level now. I was dragging my right side and slurring my speech for quite a while, and so obviously all that happened, and when you manage millions of dollars for a project, they don't really like it when you can't do math. So
Right.
yeah, so the company was very polite and said, you can't work here anymore.
Oh,
So
ouch.
yeah, so it took about 3 years to get better, of physical therapy and occupational therapy and all that good fun stuff. And to this day, I still have some permanent brain damage. I can't remember things in a sequence, and I have trouble remembering things in a series, which I suppose is the same thing. And it was kind of funny, because even before I had the stroke, I had kind of dabbled in outsourcing. I had my own little side hustle where I had a blog with some, affiliate links and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, fast forward 3 years, I'm still kicking out a ton of blog posts, and my friends are getting a hold of me, and they're like, Michelle, how can you do this? You can't write. And I said, well, I'm not writing them. And they're like, what do you mean you're not writing them? I said, well, my writer, Noriel, in the Philippines is doing it. They're like, are you kidding me? I'm like, no, I'm dead serious. And so they're like, well, how much money are you making from this? I'm like, okay amount. And they're like, crap, you got to teach me how to do that. And I was like, okay. So we did. So we started a course, and I basically taught everybody A to Z how to find, hire, and train a virtual assistant in the Philippines. And the feedback was, Michelle, that's great. That's your superpower. Can you just do it for me?
Yeah.
And I was like, absolutely not. And because I was honestly afraid that with the brain capacity problems that I have, I wouldn't be a good manager, and that I didn't want to take on other people's like business tasks that were super critical and then not be able to fulfill. And so a couple of my friends who were also colleagues own businesses, and they were like, all right, Michelle, we know you're really good at this. So can you just try? And if you fall flat on your face and it works out in a complete disaster, we're not going to hold you responsible. I said, all right, that's fair. So we did. So we tried it, and it worked a little too well.
Yeah.
Because word spread pretty quickly. And fast forward about a year and a half later, we have about 33 employees, and we have a pretty nice business that was built completely on accident, but helps a whole lot of people.
Wow. Yeah. Me included. And you definitely have a superpower of being able to go through other people's business and pick out the things um, that a VA could help them with. Because, like we were chatting here before we went live, I thought that I wanted one, but I thought I was too busy to have one, which sounds really silly. But when you think about trying to keep somebody else busy for 40 hours a week, and then the things that you do that you think only you can do, it's just overwhelming and you don't know where to start.
Yeah.
So Michelle was a huge help to me with that. And how does your brain work that you can look at somebody's stuff and just say, what about this? What about this? How do you do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I'm kind of weird. I see the world in systems. And I was actually taught that in my MBA. But I honestly feel like I did that before the MBA. And I read a book that was just absolutely incredible. It was called Work the System by Sam Carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what he does in that book, it's almost like we kind of joke and say it's an MBA in a book, because he basically teaches you how to break down tasks literally step by step by step, so that you could take that piece of paper and hand it off to a complete stranger on the street and have them duplicate the task exactly as you would have done it. And so that's kind of what gave me the idea. And I started looking everywhere, and everywhere I saw, everything was a system. McDonald's is a system. Your grocery store is a system. The way you do laundry is a system, right? Everything is a system, right? And so we got to thinking about this, and we're like, okay, great. How do we make the system more efficient? Because the way that Sam does it, it's like incredibly labor intensive, right? You're going to like sit down and write out this standard operating procedure, and it's going to take a long time, right?
Yes.
And you're going to gouge your eye out with a pencil, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I can't write. Nobody else wants to write. How can we do this so that we can download the information in our brain and have somebody else write the SOP for us? And so that's when we started using video. And it's amazing how simple it is when you start to break it down step by step. So I use this example. It's a funny story, but it's the truth. So when I first started doing this, I was horrible at it. And it was because, without even realizing it, I was expecting someone to be a mind reader. And I didn't even realize I was doing that. So here's a story. So Noriel, my writer, we had written he had written a blog post, and I wanted a picture of a successful business person for the cover photo. And so I sent him an email that literally said, hey, Noriel, find a business person that looks successful, and let's put that on the blog. And the next morning, I literally got a picture of, I don't know if you guys know this painting or not, but there's a guy in a dark suit with a red tie with a black hat holding an umbrella. And I think he's got like an apple for a face, right? That was literally the picture that he picked. And I went, oh my word, that is so not what I meant at all. And I just started laughing because I was like, this is totally my fault, because I left so much up for interpretation. So what I did was I was like, okay, let's fix this. I said, Noriel, this is completely my fault. I'm not upset at all about this picture, but let me just take you into Canva and let's go into like Pixabay and take a look at a whole bunch of pictures. And let me explain to you what I feel like is a successful business person picture. The reason I like some, the reason I don't. Here's our brand colors. Here's the fonts that we use. Let me give you all this information. And so I literally went through like 100 pictures and I said, okay, this is why I like this one, because I like the expression on the gentleman's face. I don't like this one because while the lady's smiling, she's got her arms crossed and she's like back up against this glass wall and she just looks constipated or something. I don't know. Right. And I kind of made it funny so that he would like, you know, kind of, it would embed in his brain. It wasn't just me droning on. Right.
Right.
And, so then I gave him the hex codes for our colors and our brand. And do you know, in the last 4 years since I recorded that video, I have only had to edit one picture. It
Wow.
took me 7 minutes to record that video. And he does a better job now than I ever did when I did it myself. And it was because I stopped and I didn't just download, use this picture, put it in here and use this font. I downloaded the reason why. And that's
Mhm.
where we miss so many times because we make, as business owners, we make micro decisions instantly and don't
Yeah.
even realize it. And we expect everybody else to just like know that. Right?
Mhm.
Whereas if we'll take the time to not only download the steps, but also the reason why, now we're empowering them to make their own choices based off of the parameters of our company that we've set up. And so we literally started doing that with every single process. And now I work 2, maybe 3 days a week, about 3 or 4 hours a day. And that's
Mhm.
it. And the company runs on its own because we now have 2 managers. And I've downloaded what awesome outsourcing should be, what our staff should look like, what our company values are. And
Mhm.
everybody knows that. And it's all done through video. And we've been able to just pass it off. So literally any task in the business is done as if I would have done it myself, except there's other people doing it because we have hundreds of videos. And I think the cool part is that you have to do right now, all the knowledge is in your brain. You have to do the task anyway, right? So
Mhm.
just make it easy on yourself. Just as you're doing that task, hit record and just talk through the process of what you're doing and why you're doing it. And is it going to
Mhm.
take an extra 5 minutes to do it? Yep, it sure is. But guess what? Now that
Totally
one's
worth it.
documented and you never have to do it again. Because what we do is
Mhm.
we take that video, we hand it off to our virtual assistant and say, okay, I want you to go through this video and I want you to create a step-by-step document with screenshots. Point here, click here, do this. And the reason that we do that is A, I don't want to spend my time doing that. B,
Right.
they're training themselves on how to do it while they're making the SOP. So by the time they're done making the standard operating procedure, they already know how to do the task. And so we've been able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And in the event that we, for whatever reason, need to get another VA or add more members onto our team, everything's already documented. So we can just
Mhm.
say, okay, great, here's your list of SOPs and videos. Grab some coffee. Let me know when you're done.
I can I can personally vouch for how well that works since I'm now on my 3rd VA with some of the changes I've made. And as you know, every time there's been a switch, I'm like, oh, it's the end of the world. How is it ever going to work again? And it's been fine every time, more than fine.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and it's all because of the system. Um,
Mhm.
and you did a really good job of downloading your brain. Yep.
Yeah, I am in love with Loom. I had never heard of it before I did this, and I always wondered when I would see people make videos with their face in the corner and their screen, like, wow, what witchcraft do they know that they can do this? That's probably really, really hard. And yeah, it's not hard and it's even free. Oh,
Yeah. And
that's
now
the
you
best
have a
part.
whole database of training. Isn't that
Yes.
cool? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like kind of a dream come true as a business owner where I'm like, okay, on Mondays, I can usually never get that much done because my husband's off work and we run errands and this, that, and the other. And before, every Monday was like, oh my gosh, nothing is getting done. This is so stressful. I do not want to be at the grocery store. I don't want to be doing this. I can't even relax. And now all I have to do is, spend an hour sending things and say, hey, can you do this? And here's this, this, and this. And then I can just communicate while I'm running errands through Messenger if there's any questions. And it just feels good to know that somebody's working on my business all day.
Yeah. I blew somebody's mind the other day. So it was my mom's birthday, and I got this wild hair that I just decided, and I live in Oregon and my mom lives in Florida. So it's not like, just a quick little jaunt. Right. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to just show up on my mom's doorstep for her birthday and surprise her. And so I did. I hopped on a plane Thursday, and then I flew back Monday. And while I was gone, the 2 work days that I was gone, I was completely offline. 536 hours worth of work was done for clients. We made several $1,000s, and I didn't do a dang thing.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. Yep. And I took my mom to Busch Gardens.
Ooh, fun.
It was fun.
That's impressive. I'm not to that level yet, but I'm just learning all about the benefits. Yeah. And I was also somebody who didn't believe before that somebody could do things not only as good as I could, but also quite a bit better than I can.
Yeah. And then you ran into Fatima.
Yeah.
She's our project manager. I stole her. So Allison was kind when she said a couple of changes in her business. I wanted to promote Fatima to be our employee manager. And so we did get her another VA, but I was like, it's okay, because guess who her trainer is going to be? Yeah.
Yeah. She was able to kind of emulate my same sense of humor when needed. If she's speaking in my voice, it was unbelievable. And she trained the next one immediately. Yeah, Maricar, to do the same exact thing. And it's like, what in the world? How is this even possible? Because I'm super special and somebody shouldn't be able to pretend to be me immediately, but they both did. So I'm not that special. That's
you are.
Well,
you're good at duplicating it.
Not that I'm not, but this keeps coming up in my life. There's nothing new under the sun, because I always I'll think, oh, this situation is happening for me and nobody else has to deal with this. And then within the day or the next day, I'll see an example of 10 other people that are dealing with the same exact thing. And I keep writing down, I'm not special. I have a post swirling in my head that I write about this, but I have to figure out what angle what kind of point I want to make with it. But
okay.
But that's another example of it. Oh, nobody could ever, see what I think is funny in something the same as I do. And that's not true.
Yeah.
They definitely can.
And I guess that's one of the things that when I talk to people, like you said, when in the beginning you were so overwhelmed, you're like, oh my goodness, I don't even know where to start. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's some super practical ways to figure that out. One of the easiest ways is just do a time audit. And if you guys want, you can go to just awesomeoutsourcing.com/task discovery. Nothing special about that. It's just an Excel spreadsheet with a couple videos that shows you how to do a time audit. And I had you do this, right? And so what we did was we went through, and for each task, we documented your time for a week. And then we figured out, okay, what happens if we just delete this task altogether? Will my business fall apart? If the answer is yes, then we definitely keep it. If the answer is, I don't know, then we test it and don't do it for a week and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
If nothing happens after a month, we delete that task. We get rid of it. The second thing is we then, with our list that's left, we ask, okay, great. Of this, what do I 1000% have to do myself, or what could I hand off to someone else or a piece of software. And when we do that, we come up with a whole list and we get creative. Like for our instance, I get this one all the time. Nobody can answer my emails. Well, that's true, right? But somebody could go in, organize your emails, send you one summary email of all your emails together. You could get on Loom, answer every one of those emails in about 3 minutes, then have your VA type up verbatim exactly what you said and send out all those emails. So normally what did take you an hour now takes you about 6 to 7 minutes, right?
Ooh, and I'm not doing that yet. I just
Yeah.
made like, oh.
Yeah, it's a great, I do that all the time. And now I have templates because I'll even have some of my VAs sit on my sales calls, right?
Mm-hmm.
And while they're there, they're taking notes. And so after the meeting, I always record all my calls. They automatically know, go into Zoom, download the Zoom, use this template, write out all the things that we're going to be able to accomplish. Here's the numbers of what it's going to cost. And then this is what we agreed to moving forward. And so they know, grab the Zoom video, stick it in there, put any testimonials, case studies, whatever we need, boom, send it off. So nobody else can do, well, that's not true. Somebody else could do the sales calls, but I'm still doing them.
Yeah.
And, but I don't prep for the meeting ahead of time. I don't schedule the meeting ahead of time. I literally just show up and my VA does everything else. I don't prospect for the lead. All of that is a system that just runs. So literally I just have to show up. And we book probably 4 or 5 calls a week just off of our Facebook and LinkedIn strategies, which are pretty awesome. Anyway, sorry. So not to blow your mind, the whole point was if you can just take it and do that task discovery list and just take it one task at a time. And as you're doing those tasks, record yourself. And when you've got 5 videos, now you can start looking for a VA because now you've already trained, right? In your video, you've already trained your VA to be able to take off those 5 tasks. And with the time that you freed up with them taking those 5 tasks, you can record a couple more videos. And so then you hand off a couple more and then a couple more. And what happens is it becomes this snowball, right? And it's like that old, I think it's an Indian proverb, how do you eat an entire elephant? Well, the answer is one bite at a time. And it's because if we just take one task at a time, it slowly accumulates and we get more and more and more time back. And the business runs exactly as we would have wanted it because we took the time to download our brain and our reason why into our training.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works too. And it's to listen to it when you're in the place where you're still so overwhelmed, you think, yeah, well, that won't work for me, but it will. It definitely will. And it did.
You took a little convincing. You definitely did not believe me at first.
I was like, well, I guess we'll try it. We'll see.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, you're going to find out this isn't going to work. And then you're like, oh man, this is actually working.
It's awesome. It's like my dream come true. And for me, especially, I was learning how to do different techniques on Instagram. And the one thing, when you had me take the personality test and matched it up, my weaknesses with someone else's strengths.
Yep.
Best thing ever, because I hate things like I've been doing carousels and reels on Instagram. And when I spend like an hour trying to figure it out myself and then accidentally post like the unfinished thing when I'm trying to do it, like, oh, and then I just say, forget it. You know what? I am done with this. Just not happening. And both Fatima and Maricar both are like, we got this. Here, I got it figured out. You just send me this, do this, and I will take care of the rest. And it is just an unexplainable feeling because the stuff's getting done. It looks better than it would have if I did it, and in a fraction of the time, because that's their strength and my weakness.
Yeah.
So such a good compliment.
Thank you.
To each other. The other thing I really wanted to ask you about is why the Philippines? Because I think you told me why, and I know why, but I think a lot of people don't realize
Yeah. I
What a
was
big
hoping you were going to ask that.
yes.
Yeah. So for a couple of reasons, when we decided that we were going to turn this into an agency, I wanted it to be for a very good reason. And while I absolutely love taking tasks off your plate, that is not the reason I built this company. The reason I built this company is that I want to provide as many jobs as possible to people in the Philippines so that we can end the cycle of poverty over there. And so when I hire somebody, we pay them 2 to 3 times what they would normally make. We pay for their health insurance. We pay for uh, their SSS, which is kind of like a 401k and pension combined in the Philippines. We pay for a loan program for them so that they could get a car or a house. We pay what's called a 13-month bonus, which is something very common in Asia. But as a freelancer, you normally don't get that as a perk. And so we also do like paid time off and US holidays, all that good fun stuff. So what I
Mhm.
did was I was like, okay, how can I become the best boss in the world where I naturally am attracting amazing people who they really want to work for my company? And the reason I went to the Philippines is because number one, they're very good at English. If you go
Mhm.
if you go to the Philippines and you go inside of a doctor's office or a university or any lawyer's office or something like that, they're all speaking English. So their primary language is Tagalog, but their secondary language is English. And they are very immersed in American culture. So they're watching, the reality shows and the NBA and NFL just like we are. And
Mhm.
so they get our sense of humor because they're immersed in our culture. Now they think we all live like Kim Kardashian, which is pretty funny. but um uh but they understand, like, they understand English, they understand some of our American slang, and the other reason is that they are just incredibly hardworking team players, and
Mhm.
that is built right into their culture. um, in fact, for them not to be hardworking, and not to be a team player, is actually almost looked on as dishonorable there. And so when I went there, I wanted to find people who, I call them good eggs. Fatima laughs at me because she's like, "What the heck's a good egg?" Right? And and I'm like, okay, what I can train skills all day long. What I can't train is your work ethic, your heart, and how well you're going to get along with others, right? And
Right.
be a team player. So if I can find those three things, so what I love doing is I love going in and finding the diamonds in the rough, the people who have those character traits, and then training them and teaching them the skills that they need. And what happens is, because we've offered so many benefits and such a good hourly rate, they never want to leave.
Mm-mm.
And they work really, really well because we treat them really, really well. And you can tell them this is the truth. I I am such a stickler that we work hard, but we also play hard. And so I don't let our clients like send them a message Saturday at like, 3 p.m. and expect a response back. You can send a message at Saturday at 3, but you're not getting a response until Monday morning, right?
Right.
Because I set those boundaries for them so that they have a really good work life balance, and things are the goal is to make their lives as easy as possible because they make our lives so much easier. And
Mhm.
and so, yeah, I kind of went on a tirade there. So I'm sorry. Did I hit all the stuff that you were hoping I was going to hit?
Yeah. It's just real so you have been to the Philippines? Have you met most of the people who work for you over there?
Yeah. So I haven't. We had a
You
trip
haven't?
planned right before COVID happened,
Oh.
and they shut the Philippines down, and the Philippines is still shut down.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
so it's just not a good idea right now. But
Right.
we're hoping to have a huge party when they finally open it back up. But yeah, so
Right.
I actually honestly haven't even been there yet.
Wow, yeah, I've gotta say, before I started doing this, I didn't even realize how far away it was. I had it in my head that it somehow was by, like, Cuba,
Oh,
and
yeah.
which is almost embarrassing to admit, but, I know better now.
Right
But
in between
I
Singapore and Japan.
yeah, a little
Yeah.
further than Cuba.
Little bit.
Um, I think the reason I thought that is because when I was in high school, there was a girl at my high school that was from the Philippines, and she had moved to America, and at the time, I lived in a town of 800 people, and it's like the thought of someone moving much further than Florida was like, "No, nobody would do that." Um, so I
Yeah.
think that's where that came from, and then I started looking into it a little more and, was became really interested in their in the Filipino culture,
Yeah.
and it my mind is blown that they work all night, so they're, available in the daytime for me.
Well, and it's
Mm.
it's amazing the amount of talent that's there too, because a lot of people think, oh, the Philippines, that you can't get skilled work there, and that's absolutely not true. I have
Mm-mm.
I've got people who have MBAs, are CPAs. Usually, they're more educated than me when I hire them. They've
Mhm.
all gone to university and have their bachelor's at least, have like 2 or 3 years of experience. And so here's the cool part, because I had somebody say, oh, well, that's great, Michelle, you're hiring the middle class. So, how are you eliminating poverty? Well, a couple of reasons. Because we pay them so well, they can then afford to have a nanny and a housekeeper. And that's something that is a full time job in the Philippines. And so they're actually providing for working for us. We're able to, they're also multi generational. So it's very common for grandma, mom, dad, kids all to live in one household. And
Mhm.
so we're literally taking care of 3 generations and providing 3 jobs through one job with awesome outsourcing, which is incredible.
Yeah, it's just this is the part of your story, like, all of it is great, obviously, but I love how it's such a win for everybody because, you're getting this awesome help that is undescribable or indescribable, I guess. And then on top of it, you're providing all these other good benefits from
Yeah,
getting that
we
help.
Yeah, that was my stipulation. If we built this company, we weren't gonna pay minimum wage for
Mhm.
for the quality of work that we were gonna get. We were gonna blow that out of the water.
Mhm.
And the cool part is that it is still less expensive, right? Because the United States dollar to the Filipino peso conversion rate is really good. So what that does is, because we're able to spend less money on admin, social media type work, we're able to actually hire somebody in the United States for more and pay a higher dollar rate to somebody for skilled work in the United States. So people kind of argue with me a little bit about that, but we actually help increase the GDP in the United States too, because we're able to get that better. We're able to pay higher skilled labor rates in the United States.
Mhm.
So
Well, and it also helps, somebody like me with a small business that is going to struggle getting off the ground without all of this help, and I can't afford to pay somebody $40 an hour. I mean, that's out of the question. And
yep.
that's probably what I would have to pay to get the equivalent skill of somebody in the United States.
Yeah.
Um, so it's really helpful in that way too, because obviously businesses succeeding, you know, playtime
Yeah.
um, is important to the economy too, and as I grow, I'll employ more people, and it's a good thing all around.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great circle when everybody wins, isn't it?
Hmm. Yeah, I love it. Um, Let me think of anything. I've always got so many questions. How many VAs do you have that work for you personally?
For me personally,
Hmm.
3.
Three.
Mhm.
I keep thinking like I need to be able to add one. When
Yeah.
can I do that?
Yeah, so I have somebody who does writing full time for us, and
Mhm,
so he does all the blogs on our. So I told you I had, back in the day I had a little side hustle with affiliate income, and so my blog writer, he does that full time, and he in affiliate commissions I get 3 times what I pay him. And it just keeps growing every month by a couple $100 because he keeps putting out more good content. And the better the content, the more people it attracts, the more Google likes us, the more affiliate links that get clicked. So that's him. And then I have Tanette
mhm.
and Fatima. So
Nice. So I had the one that was so good that you had to have her.
yeah. She has a dual role. She's also our employee manager, so we keep her relatively busy. She's gonna watch this and be like, "Oh yeah, Michelle."
No, that's, Maricar is just as good. I don't mean to
Maricar's
say because
amazing.
she's awesome. She's
She was the third person I ever hired. She's been with us that long.
oh, wow.
Yeah, she's just incredible. So don't worry, I hooked you up.
No, I can't say enough good about it. I think another big thing, if anybody's watching that is a business owner that doesn't have a VA yet, another big question that I struggled with is, so when I decided to become a copywriter and not be a money coach anymore, I obviously wasn't really bringing in an income yet copywriting,
Mhm.
yet I needed a VA to get to where I could be bringing an income in. Um, do you have a lot of people that want your advice on when is the right time to hire a VA?
Yeah, yeah, and most business coaches will tell you yesterday, and I think that's a line of BS, to be
Mhm.
honest. Because if you're going to hire somebody, and let's say it's $1,000 a month, right? Um, if you're going to worry about how you're going to pay that $1,000 when you lay your head on the pillow at night, and that's something that's rolling around in the back of your head, it's time to still hustle. Um,
Mhm.
because the last thing you want to do is provide somebody a job and then 3 months later go, oh, just kidding, I can't afford this. Sorry, have a nice life. Uh, and so we can always find work, right? It's not a matter of whether we can find the hours. So many people are like, oh my gosh, I can never fill 30 hours. And you're like, it's amazing how fast you can fill 30 hours. So it's never the time. It's always, do you have enough clients and do you have enough of a cushion that you're not going to be stressing about it when you go to bed at night, because that's not good for you and it's not good for the VA.
Right. Yeah. Um, yeah, and it's a hard decision when to get one because at first you're thinking, "Oh, now I'm spending this money and I'm making money to pay this bill," but it if you're doing the right things, it pays for itself. And I had a VA before, and she was great too, but at the time, I didn't know how to delegate tasks correctly. So the things that I gave her to do, she did a great job and she did them just how I wanted, but I wasn't giving her the right kind of things to do. So it was a waste of my money
Yeah.
um, to even have her. And this time, um, and and to back up, that was just a one on, me and her. There was no agency in there. I had never talked to anybody about what kind of work that a VA could help me with. And she would have suggestions, but I was too scared to try them because, like, well, then I'm going to have to spend more money and this isn't helping me make any money.
Yeah.
So the experience with using, having you there to guide me has made all the
Yeah.
difference.
We try to get a really good mix of lead generation activity. So things that are going to push the needle forward, and have a really good balance between that and freeing up your time. Because the more time that I can free up for you, the more you can bill at an hourly rate. But if you don't have anybody to bill to, it doesn't matter that you have extra time. So there's kind of
Right.
like that fine line, right? And
Hmm.
so that's one of the things that, on our initial call, we really dive into and figure out, okay, what makes the most sense to delegate first and why, so that we can get them profitable for you as soon as possible. But in reality, it probably takes 2 months. So you gotta figure you're gonna eat 2 months before you're really gonna see a return on your investment. If it's taking more than 2 months, then something's maybe wrong. But you have to kind of have that mindset that, and that's not always true, right? I've had people who've started, and the first 2 weeks they were closing new clients, and that's awesome. But I've also had people who, it took them 90 days to get their first sale from it. And so I always like to tell people, hey, just plan on eating 2 months. And then once it's up and running, because I would love for you to be pleasantly surprised that it happened earlier versus, oh, wait, I didn't get a sale in 2 weeks. What's going on? Right.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's good to be realistic. And I'm glad that you said, I hate that too. When when should you get a VA yesterday? Oh, well, I actually can't even pay for the first month of it. Should I still get one yesterday? Yep.
No. Yeah.
That's terrible advice.
That's terrible advice. It's terrible advice for you and for the VA. And that's just not good for anybody.
No. So. No.
Yeah.
Malene commented, she's watching. She just says, great interview, lady.
Oh, thank you.
Hello. I interviewed Malene and Anna a few weeks ago. I went through their program. Manny has just introduced me to all kinds of money. Yeah. People that where I can spend my money and get all these great products and services, though. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
So if anybody watching is now curious and thinks they want to get a VA, what would be the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, great question. So you can email me, Michelle with 2 L's at awesomeoutsourcing.com, or you can just go to the website and you'll see a little button that says, I'm ready for a VA. And that'll take you to our schedule once link. And it's basically, it's just oncehub.com/Michelle discovery call, right? I'm super technical. It took me a long time to come up with that. And that'll get you right into my calendar where we can go through the time audit process and really, and I'm very blunt. I'll tell you, hey, this is not the right time. You got to go hustle some more, or yeah, okay, there's enough here. I just feel like, that's just how I do business. Upfront and honest is usually the best way to go for me.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, I think that's good advice for anybody, for sure. All right. Well, I am going to sign off and go check on these boys that are in my basement and make sure they're not up to no good.
Behaving themselves, not eating all of the Halloween candy.
Right. They're being quiet. So that's
always scary
sign. Yeah. Although mine is used to me telling him, I'm having a meeting. You can talk in a normal voice, but no yelling.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
So he's pretty well trained.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure. So
yeah, thanks for coming on. It was very informative, and hopefully some people got some really good tips out of this, because you definitely gave some.
Awesome.
All right. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.